or advertisers of this station.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Chris Murray Report on WURD Radio. Oh boy, Jordan, we got a lot to talk about, and I should have started this show in my Jamaican accent, man, because the Jamaicans at the Tokyo Summer Olympic Games once again have dominated the field in sprint in the 100 meters, and there was a new Olympic record set today. I want to get into that momentarily because I just want to talk about Elaine Thompson, hurrah, basically broke Florence Griffith Joyner's record in the 100 meters. She finished in an Olympic record 11.61. 10.61 in the 100-meter dash. It was a Jamaica sweep. Shelly Ann Fraser-Price, the mom, finished second. And let's see, who finished third? Let me look at this. Finishing third is Sharika Jackson of Jamaica. The highest American finish was 7. And I got to say, this is, and it's the second time that they have, that the women of Jamaica have swept the 100-meter dash. And I know some of y'all were looking forward to watching that this afternoon, but as a reporter, it's news. It happened since, Japan's like 13 hours away from here. Mm-hmm. And so, it's like, right now it's 11 o'clock our time in the morning. It's midnight. It is now Sunday in Tokyo. It's now Sunday. So konnichiwa to everybody in Tokyo. I'm trying to get Shalise Mancy-Young, who's covering the Olympics for Yahoo, to call us in. Now, it's going to be like 1 o'clock in the morning when she calls. She may call, she may not call. She's real tired from working and, having covered Super Bowls, Olympics, and other things. I mean, I haven't covered the Olympics, but having covered the Super Bowl and major events, NCAA tournaments, that's usually a long day. That's a long day. So if she calls, I will be immensely grateful to her if she does call. If she does not, I ain't mad at her because, because, hey, man, it's a long way away.
Yeah.
Yep. Of course, this week we got into the fact that Simone Biles has basically pulled out of a lot of events, and including the team championship, which the Americans finished in second. And a lot has been said, as you know, about Simone Biles pulling out because of, now, some people, there was mental health issues, but it was also a gymnastics thing called twisties. And what that is that when you jump up in the air, and if you're not sure where you're going to land, it's a mental thing. I think it happens in sports. I mean, I think the other sports equivalent to that is when Chuck Knobloch of the Minnesota Twins years ago couldn't throw the baseball. I mean, and sometimes I think in sports you go through it's a physical thing and a mental thing. You know what I mean? I mean, it's like people try to say, she quit and she's a quitter, and people really did not know that story. So I'm going to have Melissa Lawrence Corbett talk about it in the 12:30 hour, but I'm going to try to have Dr. Paul talk about it at 12 o'clock hour, almost at the same time as I'm expecting Shalise to call in. She may call in and all that, but I'm going to try to devote a few minutes of that to let him explain the importance of being healthy physically and mentally, and in sports, you need that because had Simone Biles competed and she was experiencing that, she might have cost the team. And rather than try to go on, and the team finished second, and one of the American girls finished, I think it was Lee. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'll look that up a little bit because I'm basically trying to compile track statistics, and also I want to talk about Olympic boxing today as well, because a lot of times boxing is one of those things you really got to find it, or you got to get up early in the morning, and you got to really, I've kind of watched it on the app, and like I say, there was some interesting fights this week that I'm going to talk about, later in this hour that I thought was interesting. I would say that one of the best knockouts. That I was just going through one of the boxing matches earlier, and I was going through. I think who was it? It was an American. I'll look it up. I have my iPad here, so I'm kind of like looking up different things. But the thing about it is that the Americans. You have one in boxing. One American's about guaranteed to win a medal. That's the woman, O'Shea Jones. And I saw that fight, and she put on a clinic. It was a masterful clinic against the fighter from the Dominican Republic that she defeated. And like I say again, she's in line. Even if she loses her next match, she is in line to win a medal. And in bronze, once you get to the the semifinals, you're pretty much guaranteed of winning a medal in that situation. So that's the Olympic thing today. There was another American boxer. For some reason, it is not on my. For some reason, it seems to be missing from my app here, because there was another boxer who knocked out a French silver medalist. He was fighting out in the lightweight division. And it's probably one of the best. I think it was, hold on a second, Keyshawn Davis of Norfolk, Virginia, basically stopped a Frenchman. Basically stopped the Frenchman in the third round. He was winning the fight, and basically he threw I actually saw the punch. He threw a vicious right to them that stopped the Frenchman in his tracks. They gave him a standing 8 count, and the ref just looked and tried to get him to come forward. The guy, I think the Frenchman was in La La Land, and he got, somehow I can hear the little man in Friday saying, "Man, you got knocked the blank out."
Smokey. Yeah, Smokey.
Yeah. Yeah, because he basically, he was on his feet now. He didn't knock him out on the canvas, but basically he just got and the guy looked at, I'm okay. No, you were in Kansas. It was a vicious right that the kid threw, and I was just looking at it. Like I said, his name is Keyshawn Davis, fighting in the lightweight category, and I just thought, wow, man. He clocked him. But then we had an American fighter, Delonte Johnson, lost to a better Cuban fighter who was also a former gold medalist and I think maybe a bronze medalist. The state of American boxing in the Olympics, it's not going to remind you of Sugar Ray Leonard. We might get a couple of people who might medal and all that, although I think this kid, the kid that Davis beat, the kid that Keyshawn Davis beat was not a kid, but the guy was the number 1 seed in the tournament. So he might come out in the lightweight division with a gold medal. There was a British kid who I was watching as well. I think it's, and I have it somewhere written down here too, but it was a British kid who I thought was really impressive in the early, and he's fighting out of the flyweight division, And there's some good boxers in this tournament. Some of the Cuban fighters are really good. So, I wish they would show more of it on regular TV. You have to kind of find it on the app. So that's one thing. But in the track and field, if we can get Shalise Mancy Young, because everybody wants to know what the fallout. The best American finish was 7th in the 100 meters, and the person that had taken woman had taken Sha'Carri Davis's spot. She didn't even make it to the finals. So we'll ask about the state of American track and field. Also, the Americans ended up taking bronze in the mixed 4x400 relay. So I don't know. We'll have to explore where American track is at this moment. Because right now the Jamaicans, and I gotta say, all hail to the Jamaicans, the Jamaican team. I mean, all hail to them, because let's face it, we have a lot of people. A lot of us, who are in this country are from Jamaica. Not me personally, but although my family roots are probably more from Haiti, from what I understand, than anything else. From what people in my family, I can't confirm that to be true, so I'm not going to claim Haitian, ancestry just yet. But it's always good to root for the diaspora, because there's so many great runners throughout between Jamaica, the United States, other countries in the Caribbean, Africa. It's always good to see those guys, to do well. And, Jamaicans, I go back, Jamaicans have a long-standing history in the sport. Merlene Ottey, who kept, when all the American sprinters were finishing in the top, in the 80s, and really throughout the 80s and the 90s to a certain extent. But Merlene Ottey was always that second or third place Jamaican finisher. And, she was, I think, the first Jamaican woman to win. And please, the people in the Jamaican community, if I'm wrong about these things, please, call up the show, 215-6480-65-1866-361-0900. If I'm wrong on these things, I'm trying to relate. But the Jamaicans have, for a long time, had a great track program. You see it at the Penn Relays every year. When we had the Penn Relays, the Jamaican teams are like the best, are always beating our high school kids. And you can easily say it's because, hey, they can run all year round. And it's hard to really get the American season going in high school, because because you're running indoor, and then to the weather, especially in the Northeast, it takes a long time for the weather to get really good, and usually by the time the weather gets good in this country for track and field, and I can say that I'm a witness to this because I ran track in high school, that it takes a long time to basically get ourselves together. Now, stateside Eagles training camp began during this week. Jalen Hurts has been throwing some tight balls to Devontae Smith. That's a work in progress. Meanwhile, Jordan, your Philadelphia Phillies, man, they are the most maddening team in baseball to watch, because one day they're world beaters. One day you get a good effort from Zach Wheeler or something like that. Like, for example, I covered the doubleheader on Thursday. Phillies could not hit to save their lives. And then in the second game, they instead of pitching, instead of bringing in Aaron Nola, they said they're going to, for one of the things that the manager was saying is that, to win, they didn't want to bring in the starters because of the off-day situation. Now they're playing 4-game series and all this other stuff. So they brought in some guy from the bullpen, and he lasted maybe one inning, and then the Phillies all of a sudden were down 7-0 after about the first 3 or 4 innings, and they stormed back in that game, and that game ended with the Brad Miller grand slam home run. Phillies win the game. People go crazy. But the thing is, the Phillies are still at 500. And
Mm-hmm.
then too, they made some moves in the trade at the trade deadline. They made some moves
Yeah.
that basically brought them, some pitchers that were pretty decent. And I'll be talking about that with Jack McCaffrey at the bottom of the hour. We're gonna be talking about Fizz and talking about Sixers. The Sixers draft was, well. How would you describe the Sixers draft day, Jordan?
To be honest, I don't know. But that Jared, hang on, what's his name? Jared. It was Jared. What was it? Jared something.
Uh,
I think he's a sleeper. To be honest with you, that we
the
got in the
kid, yeah,
first
he's
round.
averaging twelve point
Yeah,
five points per game, and
because I think the last because I think something I saw something about that he was projected to go like much higher than he got drafted.
right.
Yeah, kind of like the same thing with Tyrese Maxey last year.
But the thing about it, though, my question is, he shot looking at the stats, he shot something like 43. He didn't take a lot of threes
Hmm.
from last season. He's averaging 12.5 points a game,
Yeah,
and part of the Springer, Jaden Springer,
Jade. There we go,
and
Jade.
yeah, so he was averaging, he was averaging 12.5 points. There, you're saying he's a sleeper, but some of the reports I've read are saying that he might be a bit of a project, which
Hmm.
you know, good Lord, well, I think we've had enough of those in this situation. As a matter of fact, we've had enough of those, guys who are, Jaden Springer, and he if he's good, if he's as good as they say he is, then
Hmm.
it's going to be a while, it's going to be a while before the American, I mean, for the Sixers get these guys going. And they drafted a couple of other guys as well. They drafted Charles Bassey, who I think he played at Western Kentucky,
Hmm.
and Philippe Petrusev, who's playing out of Europe. And, okay, I understand guys are projects, but none of these guys are expected to help the Sixers now.
No.
And they still have Ben Simmons. And like I say, Jack is going to call in. We're going to get to the bottom of that and get his take and get our take. And I want to get your take on this as well, because
Yeah.
the Sixers, man, oh man, I
Yeah.
mean,
And I mean,
you know,
I do have a comment about the Ben Simmons part because I've been hearing a lot about how Daryl Morey was trying to get Andrew Wiggins, James Wiseman from the Warriors and like a couple picks and stuff like that, and the Warriors declined that. This is kind of what I was talking about, like much further back. How about how we're gonna have trouble getting rid of Ben Simmons, kind of, and it's already showing.
yeah. Yeah, it's shown because nobody really wants him.
Yeah,
And that nobody wants a guy
or is that
who can't.
or like they do want him, but just not for the price that Daryl Morey's asking.
Right, right. And the thing is, you know, the real issue for that is just that you wonder, how can I put it? You just wonder whether or not, I mean, whether if they're not going to get anything for him. If they're
Yeah,
not going to get anything for him, then, he's out there. They're going to have to keep him, and he's going to have to just,
yeah, no,
just be better.
yeah, no choice,
Just be,
honestly, in my opinion. You got no choice
right.
because I mean, if you're looking for a Damian Lillard type all-star player like Steph Curry, something like that, that's not gonna happen with these
No.
With these GMs lowballing you like that.
Yeah.
So
And that's
you really
not
have
going
no
to,
choice.
yeah. And that's the thing about, the way I look at it, that becomes a problem
Yeah,
when you need that point guard. And I don't know if this kid Springer is going to be ready. I doubt it. It's hard
yeah,
for a guy to come into the league. And my problem with that is that, why is it that that the Sixers always end up getting guys who are projects and whatnot? And I understand that they want to develop guys. That's fine. That's I can dig that on one level. I can dig that on one level, but I just think that Zaire Smith when they
Hmm.
and they traded away Mikal Bridges
Yeah,
so they can and Mikal Bridges was a contributor
yeah,
for that team.
and yeah, even like about that, they could have kept Mikal Bridges. I don't know what Brett Brown was singing about back in the day. They could have got Mikal Bridges, or even though Michael Porter Jr. was hurt that one for like 1 year, he was out for 1 year. Look at him now. We could have had him with that pick.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing, and I mean, all right, I get on one level. I can get on one level that you you're gonna have to let guys develop. But the thing is it's just I don't know. It seems like they always get the wrong guys. I don't
Yeah,
get that.
yeah,
I don't get it. And you want them to win. You want them to win, but some of the decisions they made, it makes you scratch your head. And some of
yeah.
y'all against it. Let me before I go to break, let me squeeze in one caller. We got Spread Love. Spread Love is with us. Spread Love, what's happening?
God bless, Brother Chris. How you making out, family?
I'm making out okay, man. I'm trying to do 10,000 things to make $1 out of 15 cents.
Well, you must have got a raise. I'm trying to make $1 out of 10 cents.
Yeah, well, nah, man. Yeah, I wish. Yeah,
It's called the stock market.
Yeah, that's true.
Throw in 10 cents,
So what's on your
let's make
mind?
$1 for every 10-cent share. How about that?
Okay.
More love. And God bless Brother Jordan on the boards. Always doing an amazing job. And we always are thankful for the WRD family, everyone who's working to make it better. Our hearts are always with all those who are suffering and all those who are incarcerated, especially incarcerated falsely. Free Mumia. And
Right.
Brother Chris, if it's all right, I wanted to throw in my 2 cents, my opinion on the Simone Biles situation.
Okay.
But first, I wanted to send a love out to the great Empress, our sister, Shelly Ann Fraser Price, for all the things she's doing, and may she excel and exceed even greater than we can imagine.
Yeah, she won a silver medal today, and next to her teammate, but it's just that it's just she's a mom and she's still competing, and I have much respect for women who have children and still compete and still do the things that they need to do. But I'm with you on that. So I'm with you on that. She performed well. I mean, she performed well. And you saw this Jamaican sweep coming too. I mean, in the semis, they all ran pretty well.
And isn't there also Empress Allison Felix as a mother as well, competing for the United States?
Yes, I think she's going to be I want to say she's going to be in the 200, and she'll probably be in the relay. But I haven't seen that yet. I haven't gotten to that far in the program yet. But yeah, she'll be there.
May God bless them all to give their best and feel their best. And do their best, you know what I mean? And represent the best of us as always. And not to interrupt, I'm sorry, but I know we up against the break. I just want to get it in real quick. With Simone Biles, I think it was Brother Gary that called in the other day and mentioned how she was stepped to maybe by the Olympic Committee or by the judges, and they told her she had to tone it down because she was too off the hook, and they didn't have a way to assess her properly because she was too off the hook. I heard another person say it too, a different source. I haven't verified that yet for myself. But if that is the case, then A, I'd say that's sabotage. Number two, if she got to tone it down, then ain't that going to affect her timing? Because, she's been training to blow the minds of everybody. So now if that affects her ability to time herself, that really puts her in jeopardy. Because then she can, do something wrong and end up really injured. So, I think we should take that into consideration as well. There's an extra factor. Also, and me on the conspiracy theory side, I'm not saying this is proof, but just something I noticed. It's interesting how she was basically going to be the #1 act at the Olympics. But since they, quote-unquote, sabotaged her and she stepped down, now we have an Asian young lady taking the helm of the coverage for the gymnastics. And I ain't mad against nobody. I just find that very interesting, if you see what I'm saying.
Yeah, I can kind of see it, but if you talk to Simone about it, and what she said was, and this is a legitimate thing, and thank you for the call, but there's a legitimate thing to have that thing with the twisties in the air, thinking about it and all. That's real. I mean, that's real. And I don't know if it's, I don't like to speculate on conspiracy theories and anything like that unless I have actual proof and everything. And, that's how I look at it. But I think the situation that she was dealing with was real. And, it happened. So we'll address it and come back from the break. You're listening to 96.1 FM 900 AM WURD, the Chris Murray Report. Will be right back.
What's up, Philly? It's Sincerely Sarita. With so much uncertainty surrounding the upcoming school year, now is the time to take charge of your child's education and give them the tools to make learning fun and safe. Check out Commonwealth Charter Academy, which can make a difference in your child's life. Commonwealth Charter Academy, or CCA, is a K-12 public cyber charter school with nearly 20 years of experience providing a flexible, stable, online education in the comfort of your home. Enroll today at ccaeducate.me. Your child will receive 1, a world-class accredited education streamed directly into your home at no cost to you. 2, a laptop, headphones, assistance with accessing the internet, and learning materials, all provided at no cost to you. 3, a safe learning environment with no bullying or security concerns. Join the nearly 2,500 students from Philly who already attend CCA. The school year begins September 8th. Enroll now at ccaeducate.me.
Save the date. Thursday, August 26th for WURD Radio's annual Founders Day celebration, honoring the life of our founder, Walter P. Lomax Jr., MD. This year will be both in person and virtual. Stay tuned to WURD Radio and WURDradio.com for more information. That's Thursday, August 26th for our annual Founders Day celebration. Exclusively on WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD. Streaming live on WURDradio.com, the WURD Radio app, or watch live on WURD TV via Facebook and YouTube. You're listening to WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, independent black media.
Okay. We're back. Are we back? Okay.
Yeah, we're back. We're back.
Okay, sorry about that. All right. No, I was actually glancing at my TV set, because my TV set's right here in the room with me, and they're showing highlights of the final, of the 100-meter final. And, like I say, Lane Thompson just came out. It was over by, I would say, about 50 or 60 meters. And, she just came out just dominant, in dominant fashion. Like I said, the American, I think her name is Tiana Daniels, I want to say, I'll get it back, finished in 7th. And, and a lot of us are wondering, geez, if Sha'Carri had made it. Now, but let's change gears for a second. I got Jack McCaffrey on with me. The Phillies, first of all, last night, I got to go back to a conversation we were having. I wrote a column for The Sun about the fact that this team cannot escape 500. And at every point of this season, you get this feeling they'll play a couple of games, right? You'll play a couple of games and they'll convince you, like, man, these guys can really be in it. And then like the doubleheader on Thursday, they lost the first game, they were like something like, I want to say about, maybe 1 for something, or 2 for something, no, 1 for something. No, I think they were 0 for something with runners in scoring position, because they were going against Max Scherzer. And then in the second game, they fall down 7-0 with, I don't know who, I can't remember the guy's name who was pitching, who just, who was pitching and all that. And they're down 7-0. Then they come back and they win the game in extra innings. Brad Miller hits a grand slam home run. And then last night happened. So Jack, what's up with this team, man? They tease you and then they revert back and forth. Is this the best we're going to get out of this team this year?
They could get a little better. The trade deadline helped slightly. They're very blessed to be in a sagging division where nobody seems to want to take control. So they've got that going for them. But you're 100% right. It's over 100 games now. They're a mediocre team. They're mediocre. You can't define mediocre any better than always at 500. About 500, they got down 500. I used to laugh at Charlie Manuel had a quote one time. The Phillies fought all the way back to get to be 500 after being down. I thought it was a funny comment. He goes, "Well, it's good to be back at 500. We expect to stay there too." And I mean, obviously you can't stay at 500 after the next game because you're going to be something else. But it was funny that he said it. Honestly, this team is that team. They're a 500 team. Why are they a 500 team? Well, Nola and Wheeler give you a chance every night. Eflin would give you a chance every night. He's been hurt for a while. Then after that, your pitching rotation is not good enough to ever get you a winning streak. So you can't get a winning streak. That's one reason. And the other reason is, we talked about it before, they're simply a bad fundamental team. Harper dropped the ball in the outfield. I can honestly say in my lifetime, I've never seen a team drop as many balls in the outfield as they have this year. It's and I don't say this to be cruel. I say it to be descriptive. It's little league quality defensive outfield. The ball just falls for no reason. You would expect better on a high-level slow-pitch softball team. So that's the outfield. Then you've got Bowen who can't throw across the diamond. You got Hoskins who can't field. You've got Gregorius. He's shot. He's done. They brought in Freddie Galvis now because he had it up to here with Gregorius. Segura, he can really hit. You got to like the way he hits, but his range at second base is suspect. They've gone through 100 different center fielders. They've settled in a Double Herrera because he's better than the rest of them. He's not special. So they're just about an average baseball team that just doesn't execute. If they would just execute, the routine plays, they'd probably be 6 games over 500 at this point and be in first place.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Because this team is going to hit. I mean, sometimes they do. They don't hit well the runners in scoring position, but they will hit. They'll hit the ball, but as you're right, the fundamental things. It's been hard to watch that in the field, and every time they've made it, I would say most every time. I'm not saying every time, but most of the times when they make mistakes in the field, at least other runs, at least the big innings, it prolongs innings, and you find yourself in a situation where you're looking at this team and bad fielding, the pitching after Eflin, the 4th and 5th started. I mean, I wonder if Vince Velasquez is done this season for some reason because that guy can't seem to get out of his own way. I don't get it. I mean, he'll look good for maybe the first time around, and then people either figure him out, and next thing you know, he is basically out of the game. And so you don't think the guy? So you think after this trade deadline, they brought some guys in, but that one of the guys that they talked about, I think it was Kyle Gibson, who basically since opening day has a 1.86 ERA. He has like 87 strikeouts and 74 hits in 101 innings. He has a good low 90 sinker ball. Does he help this team? Are they gonna put him as that 4th or 5th starter? How does some of these guys help this team?
He'll be the 3rd starter until Eflin comes back, and he'll be the 4th starter. Of course, he was in the All-Star game this year, first time in his career. He's been a an average to above average pitcher throughout his career, but he is an innings eater. It's one thing that the Phillies need. They need Spencer Howard couldn't get you deep into games. Velasquez can't get you deep into games. Moore can't get you deep into games. Anderson can't get you deep into games. Gibson might be able to get you deep into games. Okay, so that relieves pressure on the bullpen. That allows you to have your bullpen better prepared for the next day. There's a lot of ripple effects that a major league professional starting pitcher, which is what Kyle Gibson is, can give you. Vince Velasquez is not a major league pitcher. He's an F. He belongs some other place. Yeah, that's a huge. If you heard Girardi last night, they've had enough of him. Not only that, he 2 starts ago he decided to rip the manager too. That's a good look. So they've had it with him. They had it with Spencer Howard, obviously. So they got rid of him. They're stuck with Moore, I guess, for a while. He's left-handed, so left-handers always going to get a little bit of an extra cushion. It looks like, if anything, they'll move Anderson into the starting rotation, take their chances. But it'll be Wheeler, Nola, and then Gibson or Eflin, and then when Eflin comes back, it'll be Eflin, and then I would say probably stay with Moore and just try to go with that 5-man rotation.
So from this point forward, though, I mean, my thing is, I don't know. They got shut out by a team that has coming in had 38 wins, not that good. And when you can just split against teams that aren't very good, and like we were saying earlier, this team one night bad fielding, another night can't hit. Another night, relief pitching gives up a big lead. It's just, to me, right now, as it stands now, this team still has all the makings of a 500 team. And as Brad Miller said during the post-game the other night, 500 sucks because it's not going to get you in the playoffs. So is this team, is there any hope that this team moves beyond 500, even in a sorry division like the NL East?
What's your answer? It's a sorry division. They're all going to be playing each other. They're all going to be beating each other. It's almost to the point now where you're going to be in it in September. By in it, what do I mean by in it? 3 or 4 games out. And then if you have Wheeler, Nola, Eflin, Gibson, bang, 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 bang. Maybe you put together a 5-game winning streak, sort of like a strange, like a low-level horse race. At the end, somebody's got to win it. Somebody just comes around the outside and wins it, and the Phillies can certainly hit, and they'll have a chance. But they've got to play better fundamental baseball. And Girardi's been very underwhelming as a manager. It's been very disappointing, and I'll be really surprised if they carry him past next year.
Wow. Well, the thing is, all the things I heard, and I'm kind of agreeing with you on that, but we got to go to break. We come back on the Change Gears, talk about the Philadelphia 76ers and what was kind of an underwhelming draft. And Ben Simmons is still on the roster. So we come back, we'll deal with that situation. You listen to 96.1 FM, not your AM, WURD, the Chris Murray Report. Will be right back.
James Schuler Boxing Gym presents Round the Way Rumbling, an amateur boxing event. Saturday, August 14th at 750 Brooklyn Street in West Philadelphia off 42nd and Lancaster Ave. First bout is at 3 p.m. Purchase tickets for $20 at jamesschulerboxing.com or call 215-399-7483. That number again is 215-399-7483. Let's get ready to rumble!
Build skills needed for employment through the Philadelphia Skills Forward Initiative, a free upskilling program for workers displaced by the pandemic, those whose jobs are at risk for automation, and Black and brown workers. Complete courses focused on digital literacy, career management, and professional skills for a successful career. Get started today at chamberphl.com. Tune in this Sunday at 5 p.m. for the Money Matters Show, providing information about transferring, accumulating, and preserving your wealth, with host Walter Watson.
This is not a fad for us. We will not resume our regular programming when things die down. We're not black to help our bottom line or because it's politically correct. We're not joining a fight. This has been our fight, our message, our people. Black lives have always mattered here. We are undeniably, indefatigably, unapologetically, permanently Black Talk Media. WURD. You're listening to WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, independent Black media.
Okay, we are back. The time is now 11:42, and the temperature is 73 degrees in the city of brotherly love and sisterly affection. And today's time and temperature check is sponsored by SEPTA. From safe to seamless, convenient to contactless, local to express, SEPTA is the Philly way to go. Plan your trip at SEPTAPhilly.com. All right, we are back. The Philadelphia 76ers drafted point guard Jaden Springer out of the University of Tennessee, the Volunteers, and 12.5 points per game, and not necessarily overwhelming stats. He appears to be another project, and I think I read your column on the Sixers draft. You were not impressed, Jack. What are your thoughts on what the Sixers have done in terms of this draft, in terms of trying to move Ben Simmons and whatnot? And can Ben Simmons ultimately be moved?
Ultimately, anybody can be moved, but at this point, Daryl Morey is coming off as delusional to think that the things he was asking for on draft day for that guy, and then guess what? The NBA gave him his answer. No, that's the answer. He wanted like 4 draft picks and 3 players and Andrew Wiggins and everything else from Golden State. It's amazing that they didn't just laugh at him in his face. And he's talking about maybe Damian Lillard or Bradley Beal. It's not going to happen. You're talking about a overpaid locker room drain who won't shoot, and whose center has basically said we can't have this anymore. So Ben Simmons has some value for one reason. Everybody in basketball thinks that they're the genius that's going to figure it out. So somebody's going to say, wait a minute, whoa. Don't you remember? I'm a genius here. I'll figure out how to get the most out of Ben Simmons. So somebody will take him, and then the Sixers will move on. But they tried so hard to redefine what they wanted to be at the draft, and the rest of the league spoke back, said, we're not interested. Sorry, it's your problem. You take them. So
wow. From
that moment forward, their draft night was kind of should have been defined. Instead, so then they get the number 28 pick in the draft. All right. Who are you going to get at the number 28 pick in the draft? You're not going to get Shaquille O'Neal. All right? You're going to get some guy. So they get a guy. He's 18 years old, and of 25 games, he played 25 games in college. 10 of them he didn't start. So you're talking, and then the GM comes on and says, with a guy like this, it might take 2, 3, 4, or 5 years. Okay, this is from the franchise that made you wait through the process. So 5 years from now, I got to worry about this guy helping me. That's okay for some teams. It's not okay for a team this close to contention. So what do you do with that 28 picks? You trade it. You trade it somehow, or you package it, and you try to get some immediate help. The Sixers got zero help in that draft. They got an 18-year-old guard who didn't start necessarily every game in college. They got Petrozev, who had some nice moments at Gonzaga, but he's back in Serbia, and without any guarantee that he really wants to come back for a while. As a matter of fact, the Sixers seem to be happy to let him be stashed in Serbia for a while. So there's 2 picks. Then they got the guy, what's his name, Bassi from
Western Kentucky, I think.
Now there's a guy, at least Western Kentucky's a high-level program, and this guy rebounded and scored and blocked shots for Western Kentucky. He had 3 years there. You got a puncher's chance with him. But what are you going to get with the number 53 pick in the draft? Is he going to be necessarily better than Paul Reed? He's going to be a guy he's going to be on the G League shuttle. You can see that coming. He'll play 10 games next year, and he'll have one good one, and that'll be that. So there was the Sixers draft day. They couldn't get rid of Simmons. They got some guy that's not going to leave Serbia. They got an 18-year-old player who had a hard time cracking the starting lineup in college, and you've got a guy that's got a chance to help you really marginally. So I'm glad everybody enjoyed the draft day for the Sixers. So they really moved absolutely no closer to where they were 4 weeks ago. And you only have so many. What do you have? What do you have in there to improve? You've got free agency. Okay, they could improve there. You've got the draft. They didn't do anything there. You've got trades. They didn't do anything there. No, good luck. Good luck. What can I tell you? That was a bad draft day.
Wow. So nothing. So basically, the Sixers are in the same. The Sixers are in the same spot they've always been in. They're always close, and I think that's frustrating. That's frustrating to the fans, obviously, because you want to see this team do well, and we've always joked around that a Ben Simmons jump shot is the ticket to the Sixers winning the NBA Finals. And and I don't think that's going to happen. I mean, I think that the fan base is tired of just waiting for a guy potential, and there seems to be a pattern. If you go back to Markelle Fultz, and like I say, if I get Don Hunt on the phone now, Don Hunt will be still screaming, they should have drafted, Jason Tatum. He will talk about to the death. And he's not wrong. And that's the thing. It's like they made bad decisions. What is up with that? I mean, can somebody spot talent in that front office?
They can spot on it. It's been a number of different front office personnel, so it's not the same guy making the same mistakes all the time. But it's almost impossible for them to have. And I don't want to put these guys down because I like Maxey and I like Steibel. But when you think about it, they in recent years with very high picks, they took Maxey, they took Maxey, Steibel, Simmons, and Fultz. Those 4 guys combined couldn't win a stuffed animal on a shooting basket at a carnival. The 4 of them cannot shoot at all. Now, how with a space of like 5 or 6 years, can you come up with that many guards who can't shoot? You almost have to try. So you'll say, well, Jack, you can win with Steibel and Maxey. I know. You can win with those guys. But you better, at some point, somebody's got to shoot the ball. No, in the defense of Jaden Springer, it looks like he can shoot the ball. So, I dismissed him as being 18 years old and having a so-so college year. But he can shoot it, so at least they've broken that trend.
Yeah, but the question is, when will he be on the court? See, my whole thing is that, you have a lot of guys. I mean, it's easy to say that a lot of guys will develop. But this team, I think, is on the precipice. I used a big word today, but of winning a championship. They are on that point, and yet they're so close and yet so far, and it's frustrating to fans because those of us who remember the 70s felt the same way about the Doc teams. Dr. J teams where they maybe needed better center play. They had all these ingredients. You got good guard play. You got you got guys who could shoot, but that one gap was just at the center position. And between Caldwell Jones and Daryl Dawkins, they couldn't do anything. Then you bring in Moses, and you win a championship. And would you say it's similar to that era, that you're so close, you're a good team, and yet you're missing that one thing that puts you over the top?
I can see that. I can see where you're going. The one difference with that era is they kept getting to the finals, or they kept getting deep. This team can't get past the second round. So, but yeah, I'm going to agree with what you're saying there, because they did have the best record in the Eastern Conference last year. They were a championship contender by any definition. They were a championship contender on the Las Vegas board. They were. I've made the point a couple times that they lost a 7-game series. Well, in that 7-game series, they won 3 games, and they had a 26-point lead in another one and an 18-point lead in another one. So to suggest that they're a bad team, it would be incorrect. They were a very good team that apparently could not read a Trae Young scouting report. So that would help. Can we try that?
Yeah.
Somebody
yeah.
Please, so that was the. So they're okay, but they have to do some things, and they just haven't been able to do it yet. They just have not been able to do it yet. They had a chance at the draft. They decided to go more for a future draft than a current draft, but they'll wind up trading Simmons for something. They'll get something. They might get some flexibility. They can then do something in free agency. So now you've done something in free agency. Maybe you trade something else. Maybe you trade, you package Thibault and something and get another player. You trust Morey and Doc's eye for talent, and then you improve. But so far, the season's been over for a month. They haven't done anything yet, and they wasted an opportunity at the draft, in my opinion.
Wow. Well, that's speaking of coaching, how would you now? I guess we've had some distance away from the playoffs. How would you rate Doc Rivers' job? How well of a job did he do this last season? Because a lot of people talked about, hey, how can this is like the second or third year that Doc has had a team in the playoffs and they've blown big leads and all that. I mean, because up to that point in the season, I thought Doc Rivers had done a really good job of coaching this team, and I thought he had done a lot better than Brett Brown. And I still say that, but I do question whether or not, I do question that in terms of the playoffs and whatnot. So, was this partially coaching? Could he do some things better?
Everybody could do some things better. I thought he had a pretty good year as a coach. He figured out a way to get the most out of Thibault. He figured out the way to, with really a bad bench, to somehow transform that into a productive bench. And when you look back, I think if historians look back 1,000 years from now, they'll say, you know what? He somehow made a bench with Shake Milton and Cork Maz and Dwight Howard at 100 years old and Thibault and Maxey, neither one can shoot, at value. They actually got a value out of the bench. So I give Doc credit for that. I give him credit for really getting the most a big year out of Joel Embiid. He motivated Joel Embiid to play. He motivated Dwight Howard to play. He had a pretty happy locker room. There wasn't a whole lot of sniping at each other. And then you go by the record. He had the best record in the conference, and it was a pretty good conference. So he won one round in the playoffs. He had a chance to win the second round. It didn't work out for him. The hack of Ben didn't help him, and Simmons just really went in the bag. I'm not going to blame Doc for that. If this is the take a shot at Doc hour, I'd say they did a bad job preparing for Trae Young, especially in game one where he decided to put Danny Green on him. And it was a horrible decision. You noticed that two possessions into the game, you knew that was going to be a problem. And you could really, if you want to audit it, they lost that series because they didn't win game one. After game one, you lose game one at home, it becomes heavy lifting for the rest of the series, and they just weren't able to go over the top. So I think I gave the report cards and paid for grins. I think I gave Doc a B. I'm not going to destroy the guy because he lost the playoff series.
Well, like I say again, we are up against the break and everything. We're about running out of time. But Jack, I appreciate you being here today. But I gotta say one thing. I still say that they got to score big and free. And I think Daryl Morey is facing the pressure of you got to do something in free agency. You got to do something and you got to figure out a way to settle this thing with Ben Simmons because I don't think people want him back, and I don't even think he wants to be back. But they got to get something for him, and they got to do the right thing, and maybe they have to cut their losses. But I think most fans will say they got to get something for him. Am I right? I mean,
oh yeah, Simmons is on board. His agency has already said they're on board. The Sixers are on board. Everybody's on board except the other teams in the NBA. What's that tell you?
Yeah.
The Bears want him gone. The coach wants him gone. The GM wants him gone. He wants gone. The center wants him gone. And the rest of the NBA says, okay. That's what the rest of the NBA said. So I don't know whether the Sixers were delusional enough to think there was going to be the world was going to beat a path to their door. Hey, what can we give you for Ben Simmons? Well, guess what they got? Nothing. That's what they got for him. They're going to get something for they will get something for him at some point. It might involve I'll take your problem for you take my problem. Might be one of those kind of situations. So
yeah.
So Morey's got his work cut out, and number one, the first thing he's got to do is solve the Simmons situation. He got embarrassed at trade deadline, he got embarrassed at the draft by not being able to do that. And how do I know he was embarrassed at the draft? Because he refused to answer any questions about it. He doesn't even want to talk about it. So the deals he was throwing out there were borderline crazy. If he thought that the NBA was going to give up that kind of bounty for Ben Simmons, he's living on another planet.
Wow. And on that note, Jack, thanks for being here. We got to go to break, but that's very true. You're absolutely right about that. Listening to 96.1 FM, 900 AM, WURD, the Chris Murray Report. Will be right back.
Hello, Philadelphia. Switching to Geico is a good idea, especially when you consider everything.
First off, Geico makes it easy to switch, and you can contact your local agent for personalized assistance.
But if it's so easy, you might start thinking everything is easy, even big wave surfing. And it's not. It's actually quite difficult.
Well, if you switch to Geico, you could save hundreds on car insurance. And you could keep saving by bundling your motorcycle, boat, and RV, plus your home or renter's insurance.
But saving money might lead you to make some questionable purchases, like a 20-foot feather boa. And do you know how hard it is to clean a 20-foot feather boa?
Well, they do have an industry-leading mobile app you can use to pay your bill, file and manage a claim, or add a new driver.
But when life gets a little easier, it makes you too confident, and you start calling everyone Ace. And you're better than that.
Well, Geico has a 97% customer satisfaction rating and has been saving people money for 85 years. It's hard to beat that.
But you're right.
Switch to Geico. It's obviously a good idea.
What is dedication?
My daughter started making necklaces. She makes what we call affirmation fashion. I tell her every day that your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. And if there's anything better than being beautiful, it's being smart. And if there's anything better than being smart, it's being kind. And reaffirming that every day is our method of making sure her chin never drops. My dad wasn't around, and I remember riding a bike and falling off and cutting myself, and me never just wanting to get back on it. People ask, How your children learn how to ride a bike, and you didn't. I didn't teach them. I just created an environment where they taught themselves, and all I had to do was be there.
That's dedication. Visit fatherhood.gov to hear more. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
As a community service, WURD Radio and the Black Doctors COVID-19 Consortium wants to keep you informed about where you can get barrier-free COVID-19 testing and vaccination this week. Tuesday, August 3rd and Thursday, August 5th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. at Deliverance Evangelistic Church, 2001 West Lehigh Avenue in Philadelphia. For more information, visit blackdoctorsconsortium.com. Stay informed and stay well with WURD Radio. 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD. Stand with WURD Radio, the only black-owned talk radio station in Pennsylvania. Did you know you can join the 4WURD movement and amplify voices of the black community as a digital member for as low as $5 per month? Visit membership at wordradio.com or call 215-425-7875. We need you. Show your support. Start or renew your 4WURD membership today. This is WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD Philadelphia. Black Talk Media. You're listening to WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD. Independent Black Media.
Okay, we are back. Now, I was planning to have Shalise Mancy Young from Yahoo Sports, who is in Japan covering, the Olympic track and field and other things that are going on at the Olympics. But before I get her on here, I have Dr. Paul on with us to talk a little bit about, the importance of, just being as athletes, making sure your mind and body are on one accord and making sure that, how important that is, because there's a lot of misunderstanding this week. There's a lot of misunderstanding regarding the whole thing with Simone Biles. Some people felt that, we're creating a culture of quitting or something like that. But it's a lot deeper. To me, it's a lot deeper than that. And, Dr. Paul, I got to ask you, dude, can you kind of talk about this? You're a former athlete as well. Talk about that connection between good mental and physical health, because a lot of people seem to miss that a little bit. A lot of people seem not to understand how if you're not mentally right, physically becomes a difficult situation.
Absolutely, Chris. Thank you so much for having me, Chris. I appreciate you having me on. And you're spot on when it comes to the mental aspect of how performing as an athlete, along with the pressure, myself as an athlete, but also being from a family of athletes, your actually ability to perform in front of people and that the world is on a spotlight, it does feel like the world is on top of you, or that you're carrying the world, as what Simone actually said. She said, I feel like the world is on my shoulders. But really, if you are doing with the degree of difficulty that she is always doing, it's always all above the normal. Then she definitely, if she has where they're saying she gets lost when she's up, that's the worst thing that can happen for a gymnast. And absolutely, she could be putting herself in some real serious trouble, and problems. So I'm glad that she made the decision, because she's got a long career ahead of her. She's still very young, and with that, she can always bounce back, but you can have an accident that can damage yourself that you could never recover from, especially with the level of degree that she's dealing with.
Now, one final thing before I let you go, because, I didn't want to keep you on too long, but are we going to see a trend in sports where, we got to basically make sure our young athletes develop themselves from a mental health standpoint as well as your physical, because I think we need to check in. It seems like we need to check into that more than anything else. You see, and like I say, you know, if you can just say that, will that be a trend in sports?
Oh, absolutely. I believe that what we saw with his, the tennis player, I think it was Osaka, and also now Simone Biles, you're seeing that there's a level of training that has to be dealing with pressure and media and also, you know, advertising. All this stuff is the pressure to perform can make the situation worse if you're not focused. Diet on our side means everything. Mental health is something of a concern on all levels. And see, that's the side that people don't see when you're in the spotlight as a performer, if you're in whether music business or anything behind the camera, whether it's sports, entertainment, you deal with a level of pressure that people can't imagine what you deal with. You know, you'll see the smiles in the face, but behind the scenes, what it took to get you there sometimes is incredible work and concentration. So health and diet, along with mental health, absolutely, you're going to see a lot more of this in the near future. If not, all players are now starting to increase that.
Right. Dr. Paul, thank you so much. And like I say, I always enjoy your show from 9 to 10 on Saturdays. Always appreciate, you know, giving you that wisdom. I'm gonna have you on here more often, a lot more, and I'm gonna do with you a little bit longer segments, man. So because what you always have to say is interesting.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate you, man. And definitely, you know, we can go into further detail with how people deal with their diet, because I have a strong bone to pick with a lot of athletes that have terrible diets. So, so maybe that's why everybody's breaking down and everybody's hurt all the time, because they have no bone density anymore, no, you know, connective tissue issues, you know. So we'll talk. We'll talk.
Thank you, Dr. Paul. Appreciate you. Now we have on the line with Shalise Matson-Young. Shalise, you witnessed the Jamaican sweep today. Tina Daniels, I can't remember. I think that's how she pronounces her name. Tina Daniels finished 7-7 for the U.S. And I just got to get what was the general mood of the U.S. team? They also finished third in that mixed relay. What's been the general mood of the U.S. team? And how big of an achievement that the Jamaicans? I mean, I remember Merlene Ottey years ago was always the runner-up, and now that program, now the Jamaicans are like, we the baddest in the world. But go on, I'm sorry, but where are the Americans at this point?
So I think it's interesting. Tiana Daniels, she was really excited, and I can't really say I blame her. That was probably, you know, one of the best races, fastest races that there's ever been for women at the Olympics. She felt good, she said, when she reflects on the year that she had and has had so far this season. She took 6 weeks off from competition to get back to practice and really worked hard and ended up having a lifetime best in the semifinals. It was the first time she went under 11 seconds. So she was in great mood. The mixed relay was interesting because I still don't understand how they lost that, to be completely honest with you. And they were, you know, the runners who took part, they seemed a little subdued, but they expressed happiness. It is still an Olympic bronze medal. The United States should have been the favorite in that mixed relay. But I think, you know, you certainly have coming up tomorrow morning is the final for women's shot put. We might medal in that. One of the best stories in my mind on the American team is a young man named Javon Harrison, who qualified in the high jump and long jump. He's the first American man to do that since 1912. Those are just such two different disciplines, and it's incredible that he is one of the best in the world at two such different jumping events. So I think, you know, we'll see more. this day that just ended was only day 2 of 8. So, you know, we have the depth of our team really coming up. Of course, the women's 400 hurdles with Dalilah Muhammad and Sydney McLaughlin, the men's 400 hurdles with Rai Benjamin. You know, we have some real depth and some strong events coming for us. Kenny Harrison and the women's 100 hurdles. So, yeah, we have some really strong events coming up, and hopefully you'll see the U.S. team start to really gain some momentum.
Right. I would like to talk about the Jamaican team because I always take people, you know, I want the Americans to win. I'm not going to lie, I'm biased, I'm a home. And by the way, you know, Shanisha calling live from Tokyo, Japan. It is about 1:10 in the morning, right?
Correct.
You know, so,
correct.
Huh? Okay.
Yeah, you're right. It's 1:10 in the morning.
1:10 in the morning. And I hope I'm not interrupting you from any partying or anything like that. Because I'm sure. Well, then again, no, I don't think there is any partying because of COVID. I want to talk about that too.
No, I have to be back at the track in less than 8 hours. So these track days are really long. I literally just walked back in my hotel room since we've been on the phone, and I have to be back at Tokyo Olympic Stadium in 7 hours.
Wow.
7.5.
Okay. Well, I'll try to get you out of here soon. But what I'm saying is that you have to appreciate the Jamaican team. I mean, you know, like I say again, you know, there's some really great runners. I mean, like I say, Lane Thompson, hurrah. I mean, I saw that in the prelims. I mean, you could kind of sense how this was going to go. I think someone ran like close to 10.6, you know, and they were in that range 10.7 in both the quarters and in the semis. But, you know, just, you know, how much can we appreciate this Jamaican team, these women, Shelly Ann Fraser-Price, you know, recently who has children now. How will this team be looked? How should this team be viewed in history in terms of this is like the second time in their history that they swept in an Olympic 100 meters?
Yes, I mean it's unmatched. You know, I think even if you go through the storied history that American women used to have, I don't think we ever swept. And now it's since 1996. Of course, Marion Jones's gold medal in 2000 was stripped, so the last on the books 100-meter women's Olympic champion we had was Gail Devers in 1996. And it was noted today that 10 of the last 12 Olympic medals in the women's 100 have been Jamaican. They have just been absolutely dominant. The last 4 straight gold medal winners in 2008 and 2012, it was Shelly Ann. 16 and tonight it was Elaine. So they're just turning them out. It's interesting because if you look, since Usain Bolt, they're kind of falling off on the men's side, but that women's depth, it's just, they just keep reloading. You know, you mentioned Merlene Ottey. I remember Merlene Ottey, and I don't even know if they really had any down cycle, you know, in those days. It's just, they just, a new one. They line them up and put them out there.
Wow. And yeah, that's the thing. I mean, I think they just put them. I think the high school program is great. I mean, they come to the Penn Relays every year and they just dominate. I mean, they're there every year, and I'm just wondering if people say it's the climate. I'm wondering what is it about their program that makes them so great? Do they have great coaching, or just, you know, it has to be something a little bit more than I know. Some of those athletes also run here in America as well.
I think it's more just everything feeding off each other. You know, when you're at practice every day and you are able to practice against a Shelly Ann Fraser-Price, or you're able to practice against an Elaine Thompson, I think it just makes you better. You know, they're working, but then if you want to be at their level, well, then you have to work at their level. And at this point, it's just the legacy of Jamaica is that 100 and 200. And I'm sure at this point, there are children, boys and girls, after Usain Bolt, who just aspire to be just like them. And if everybody on the island, just about, is trying to be a runner, it just kind of stands to reason that you'll be able to find some gems. It really is incredible that they've been able to have this sustained success. I mean, Shelley Ann Fraser-Price won her first gold medal in 2008, and here we are 13 years later, and she's still winning silver medals. It's really just remarkable.
What's been the mood? Has there been any discussion of Sha'Carri Richardson, that situation? Has there been any fallout since everything happened? Like everything happened in the last couple of weeks and everything. Has anyone has her name been brought up out there and everything? What's going on with that?
It has been. It's funny because it was brought up tonight, actually. I don't remember. I think it was to Elaine. And somebody said, Sha'Carri's not here. And Elaine was like, nope, not talking about that. She literally just, and that's all she said. So there's been some mention of it. I think one of the American women was asked, and they said, things happen, and those of us that are here are here. And I think, on a positive note, Sebastian Coe, who is the head of World Athletics, he believes that rule should be evaluated, which doesn't help Sha'Carri now, but it helps, Sha'Carri and potentially other people down the line. So it was a fantastic race. You mentioned the early heats, and when you saw, Elaine Thompson, it didn't even look like she was trying in her first couple of rounds, and she's running 10.78, I think was one of them, maybe 10.82 was the other, something like that. And it just looked so easy. She was able to, really throttle down the last 20 meters or so, her first two rounds, and really just put it all together in that final. It was a phenomenal race. You wish Sha'Carri had been there, especially when you consider that medal drought for the United States. But she's so young, and hopefully she's able to be there in 3 years in Paris.
Yeah, and that's going to be a thing. I mean, I do think they need to drop that world doping. So earlier you were saying that, hey, hurdles, how are we looking, how is U.S. looking in terms of both men's and women? What about the 400 meters? Is Allison Felix running the 400 this time around, or is she running?
Yep, she's running the open 400, and she will be on the 4x4 team. It's an interesting year for the women's 400. There's not really an overwhelming dominant woman on the global stage really in the 400 right now, or not a depth in the 400. So she actually sort of has a chance of medaling. There is Shawnee Miller-Weibo, who's from the Bahamas. She was going to run in the 200, but apparently she has switched to the 400 because she saw that the 200 was going to be a much deeper field. And the 400 is something that she's excelled at. If people who watch track, they remember that Shawnee dove over the line in 2016 to beat Allison Felix for the 400 gold. So Allison's there. Burks is there for us. There's a young woman named Waterlyn Jonathas, who actually grew up in Massachusetts, not far from where I live. So it's interesting to have a Massachusetts girl in the Olympics as a sprinter. And then on the men's side, our best 400 runner is Michael Norman. And so it's deep on the men's 400 side right now. There's 3 or 4 top runners that Norman's going to be competing with. The hurdles races, I think we're going to do really well. Kendra Harrison in the 100 hurdles is the reigning world record holder. She looked really good today in her opening race. The men's 110 hurdles, the reigning world champion is a young man named Grant Holloway. And then in the women's 400 hurdles, of course, Dalilah Muhammad and Sydney McLaughlin. And the men's 400 hurdles, a young man named Rai Benjamin, who has a battle with Karsten Warholm from Norway. And Warholm just broke the world record within the last, I want to say 4 to 6 weeks. So there's been talk that you could see the world record broken in both men's and women's 400 hurdles, because Sydney and Dalilah, the last 3 times they've met, one of the 2 of them has broken the world record. And it's been a little bit since Warholm and Benjamin ran against each other, but they're both just really strong contenders, so smooth over the hurdles. and really technically sound.
Wow. One final thing, though. Has it been kind of eerie to watch the Olympics in COVID? And what's been, I understand a lot of people in Japan have basically said they would rather not have had these Olympics. I mean, you know, what's been the general mood around the Olympics? I don't know if you've been down to the villages or because of COVID, it's been, I don't know, I guess things are kind of limited, but what's been the general mood in that town, given that COVID cases are out of control? And what's been the mood about the Olympics? I mean, are people, has that cast a cloud on how people view the Olympics at these games?
So the weirdest thing is being in a big stadium that's empty, that's essentially empty. I wanted to go to the opening ceremony because I don't know if I'll ever be at another Olympics. And the opening ceremony, there was just no energy. You know, in a normal situation, I'm sure there are, you know, there's tens of thousands of fans and everybody's there with a flag. And when their country takes the field for the Parade of Nations, they're screaming and yelling and cheering and horns and clapping and all that stuff. And there was just no energy in the opening ceremony. And then one of the first things I went to was tennis. And, you know, saw Naomi Osaka and Novak Djokovic play in the stadium, the tennis stadium here. I think it would probably seat like 15,000 people. And there's maybe 200 people watching, you know, support staff and a small contingent of coaches and things like that. And that's the part that is really, really, really difficult. And it almost makes you feel badly for the athletes that they've trained all this time and put their whole heart and lives into it. And there's nobody there, like, in person. Their families aren't there. There's not fans there to support them and give them that love and things like that. So the people of Tokyo, we're not supposed to sightsee. We're not supposed to really wander around that much. In my little neighborhood where my hotel is, you know, I do have to walk and get food. And the people, nobody really says anything. There was a protest on the night of the opening ceremony, but then today, as I was walking into that same stadium where the track meet is being held, there is one of those big statues of the Olympic rings, and there was a line of people. There were hundreds of people, which obviously this is a massive city, and a few hundred people is a small sample, but it's been people just buzzing in this little plaza waiting in line to take pictures with the statue of the Olympic ring. So yes, there are a lot of people, and rightfully so. I completely understand why they did not want to have tens of thousands of people from outside the country come into this country during a pandemic. But there are some people who are excited, and there are some people who are happy and trying to, celebrate that the games are in their city.
Okay, well, like I say, live from Japan, Shalise Manson-Young of Yahoo Sports, columnist, do a great job with everything, and like I say, definitely appreciate your contribution today.
You bet, Chris. I will talk to you soon, probably when I'm back in the States. But
Okay, we'll definitely talk. I'll probably see you at training camp, so we will definitely talk soon. So, ladies and gentlemen, Shalise Manson-Young of YahooSports.com. You can check out our column on Yahoo Sports. So, ladies and gentlemen, we got to go to break. Listen to 96.1 FM 900 AM WURD. The Chris Murray Report will be right back.
Kamasi Washington brings his fall tour to the Met Philly, one of only 6 dates on the East Coast. Don't miss Kamasi Washington October 20th at the Met Philly. Tickets on sale now as of July 30th. Tickets available at Ticketmaster.com. James Schuler Boxing Gym presents Round the Way Rumbling, an amateur boxing event. Saturday, August 14th at 750 Brooklyn Street in West Philadelphia off 42nd and Lancaster Ave. First bout is at 3 p.m. Purchase tickets for $20 at JamesSchulerBoxing.com or call 215-399-7483. That number again is 215-399-7483. Let's get ready to rumble! The Mattress Man is a second-generation family-owned mattress specialist business since 1988. Open 7 days a week, located at 74 21 Stanton Avenue. The Mattress Man discounts Serta, memory foam, orthopedic, and ComfortTech mattresses every day. You deal directly with the owner, Julian, to ensure you get the best price and best service. The Mattress Man offers same-day delivery on most models to most areas. Ask about the WURD discount. Call 215-424-5550.
Family Therapy Vignette Moments with Dr. Lucille Ijoy.
Ladies and gentlemen, when you complete a job, you feel so much better. You'll sleep better, you'll feel satisfied, you may even cook a fancy meal and share it with a neighbor when you complete a job. You will rest better and breathe. Breathe, everybody. Let me hear you breathe. Breathe again, breathe again. It's very important to breathe. Say, you have completed a job. Well, after the job is completed, it's time to dance. It's time to tap your feet. And you're going to listen to something called Shake, Rattle, and Roll by Joe Turner. Here it comes.
Shake, rattle, and roll. Shake, rattle, and roll. Shake, rattle, and roll. Shake, rattle, and roll. Well, you won't do right. Save your doggone soul.
You're listening to WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, independent black media.
We are back. Well, I gotta tell you guys, this summer is the perfect time to come out and come up. If you're looking for a new job, you've got to check out our new livelihood job portal. Some of Philadelphia's top companies want you, our WURD listeners, to apply. And we've got jobs in marketing, customer service, tech, and more. Go to the livelihood job portal right now to check out jobs and apply at WURDworks.com. That's WURDworks.com and click jobs. Ladies and gentlemen, go ahead and get these jobs. They're out there. Go get them. All right, we're back. Now, couple of things I want to talk about. We have Abdul before, because I'm expecting my good buddy Melissa Lawrence Corbett to chime in a few minutes. But we have Abdul on the line with us. So Abdul, you're still there. Thanks for hanging in there.
Yes, I am. How you doing?
I'm doing okay. But like I said, thanks for hanging in there with what's on your mind.
You walking? Yeah, I wanted to talk a little bit about mental health and Simone Biles, and a little bit about boxing. Now, mental health, I believe all us humans have to deal with that, and then athletes, including entertainers. Now, I meant you can have a lot of mental health and pressure on you if you're the oldest child and the first one to go to college and got to, show your younger siblings and approve of your parents, your success, and you can have that pressure on. You could be an immigrant and come over and got to make money and send it back home and have pressure on you. Just the same as what Simone Biles talking about, she had pressure. The thing I have a problem with Simone Biles and Naomi Osaka, and when we come to sports, we talk about, overcoming adversity and all that and still being able to triumph. Now, Naomi Osaka, I didn't like what she done. Now, she could have had mental pressure as well as Simone, but if you do, get out before the games even start, because if you don't and you got a real sports fan like me and who watched your career and love your sport, I could kind of figure out something may be wrong. Now, Naomi Osaka, her 4 Grand Slams have come on hard court, 2 Australians and 2 U.S. Opens. She never, I think, made it past the second round in Roland Garros and the French Open. So that's a bad event for her. And she talked about mental problems, so I think there was something there. Now, Simone Biles is one of the best. There's 4 apparatus in gymnastics, and I watch it. It's the floor, the vault, is when you run and you spring off the thing, and then you try to nail your landing. And then there's the uneven bars, and then the toughest of all is the beam. Simone Biles participated. She done the vault, and she had a bad landing. That would have deducted points away from it. Then she done the floor, and she went out of balance. You're supposed to stay on the mat and do your dance and do routine flips in each corner of the floor. She went out the mat. So she blew her first 2 events. Her second event, the beam is the hardest, where you got to be on the balance beam and 4 inches of flipping up about 3 or 4 feet off the ground. And her toughest event, ask anybody, her toughest event, even though she's the greatest, is the balance. Is the uneven bars. That's her toughest event. But the toughest event, period, in gymnastics is the beam. That's why when any competing college teams go to each other's place and challenge each other, they make the opposing opponent do beam last because it's the toughest. Now, she knew she already blew her first 2. Her only 2 left was the toughest.
So, let me stop you for a second. I understand what you're saying. So you're saying that you know, I mean, that the issues that she had, maybe she felt like she wasn't
didn't
going
have
to
an
win.
injury.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was saying, I thought you said she had an injury. She didn't have an injury. She was saying she had a mental thing where she thinks she would have hurt herself. Ask that to somebody who may be going through a divorce and maybe going to lose their kids and then got to catch a ball across the middle in the NFL and think about how they going to get hurt if they thinking about losing half their money and losing their kids in the custody dispute. But she could say that, you know, her head not right, that she going to hurt herself. Ask that to somebody in a boxing match who came in and they, you know how sometimes a fighter can't pull a punch. You know how sometimes a boxer can't pull a punch, and at the end of the fight they say, man, I couldn't let the trigger go. He don't get to say I had a mental lapse, and that's why I got the heck beat out of me. George Foreman got the heck beat out of him, and he caught Michael Moore, and I believe the 10th round after getting almost beat to death, and he done what we watch athletes do. Come through adversity and win. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
But here's the thing with that. In the sport of gymnastics, you know, she was talking about, and no one's seen, and my next guest is going to talk about this, but in the sport of gymnastics, she was talking about experiencing a condition called twisties, when she's up in the air and doesn't know where she is, or somehow, you know, doesn't know where she is as she's coming down. And for a lot of gymnasts, and this has been talked about, you know, on television a lot, that, you know, a lot of interviews, that's a really serious situation. She could really get hurt if she's twirling up in the air, not knowing how she's going to land. And she was concerned about that. I don't think it's that she was, because I think what you're implying, and you may not be saying it, but what you're implying is that somehow she's not strong enough to overcome adversity. And I mean, and I don't, and I have to disagree with that in the sense that given the success that she's had in that field, in gymnastics over the years, she's considered the greatest of all time simply because she's had to overcome a lot of stuff. You know, the fact that, you know, the gymnastics was a person who was like molesting some of the gymnasts. I mean, including her. And so that's, I cannot in good conscience say that's something, that somehow, I mean, if that's what you're implying, and, you know, that's somehow a thing where she has to overcome adversity. That woman has overcome adversity beyond the pale of the sport. I mean, given the success that she's had, and there is a point where, you know, in her case, she might have been, I can kind of look at it like that. If she's not seeing where she's coming down, and I've even seen this in baseball. You know, Chuck Knobloch just had issues throwing the ball, and I go back, another thing I would go back to, people tried to say that J.R. Richard back in 1980 was having some issue with, you know, with his arm, or was getting headaches and stuff. People kept trying to say, oh man, it's psychosomatic, you're not doing it, until he got a stroke. We don't know. We're in a situation where it's easy for us to say, you know, it's easier for us sitting here watching on television, the armchair guest list, and say, well, she's got to come through adversity. Yeah, everybody has to come through adversity. And people dealing with everyday life issues, sometimes they don't handle it right. Some people drink, drive, and do all these things. And sometimes it's easy for some people to compartmentalize it, and for others it's not. So I had to disagree with you on that, and also had to move on to my next, to bring in Melissa Lawrence Corbett, because the good thing, I appreciate the call, and you brought up something that I want to let her address, because she's covered tennis, she's covered sports of all kinds, and so Melissa, I got to ask you, you know, you heard what my caller was trying to imply there. What did you think of that? I mean, is he right about that? I mean, with this whole thing about, okay, yeah, you got to overcome adversity, but you know, given where Simone Biles was, she's done in her career, she's more than proven that to herself.
Well, my take on that is, let's say she's never won a medal. Even if she had never won a medal in her life, this whole idea, particularly coming from people in the black community, that so-and-so endured sexual abuse, so you go out there too. And it's like Sugar Ray Leonard had substance abuse problems, and he beat his wife. So maybe if he had taken the time to take care of himself, like she's taking care of herself mentally, he wouldn't have gone through that stuff. So we got to stop telling black women, black men that, hey, I went out there and set myself on fire to keep the public warm. That's the way I see it. It's like, hey, you need to entertain me. You need to go out there and break your leg. You need to risk catastrophic, injury because I want you to do that. She already has a gold medal. She has tons of championships. So it's not like she never won anything. But even if she never won a thing in her life, if she's up in the air and she notices that she's all kilter, having twisties, that's for her to decide. We don't get to tell people how to take care of themselves. And it's very dangerous, particularly in the black community, where we have such a stigma on mental illness. So it comes out sideways. That's what I tell people with mental illness. You know, those people who say, oh, you're so strong, you're working through it. Working through it is whatever you need to do, whether you need to go to a doctor, maybe you have something, remember the wide receiver, Brandon Marshall. He was actually bipolar. So however you need to work through it, that's up to the person and their doctor. And, fans are going to be fans, but to say that, hey, she just knew she blew it, implying that she's a quitter when she, in fact, did have twisties, that's very dangerous. If you come down, you could be talking about paralysis if you get that wrong, lifelong paralysis for something like that. She decided she needed to take care of herself, whether it's Naomi Osaka. People, we're just living in this social media world, too, where people decide they're at home and they think, I'm going to tell that person what it means to be strong. Well, you're not living her life. Her brother was just on trial for murder. Her parents aren't able to be there at the Olympics. It could be an inner ear thing. She could go home to her doctor, because remember, she's in Tokyo. She's not with her regular doctors doing a battery of tests. Because if you have anything off in your inner ear, your balance, you can't walk down the stairs right. So the fact that she was doing it on, I heard him talk about the different apparatus, the different, whether it's beam and that kind of thing. The fact that it was happening in each event tells me it's not just some one-off mental thing. It's not nerves. The woman, there were fans there at Rio. She's been challenged before. So this is not somebody who succumbs to nerves. There was something off. She realized something was off and was like, hey, I got to pull back from this. So I just wish, and I understand fans want to see this, but to make this blanket statement that, hey, can you imagine someone coming to a parent, I'm suffering, I want to tell you this is very hard for me. I was sexually abused by the minister. Well, my uncle was sexually abused. You just, get through it. I mean, can you imagine that? And that's what we tell each other, that kind of nonsense. It's like, no, you tell the person, what help do you need? How can we help you through this? Not you just go ahead and suck it up. Plenty of people have been abused. I mean, that's just a horrible message. And when I heard that, I'm like, that's a horrible message to send out there to anybody, but particularly with black folks who, you know, we have it harder than anybody in this country. And so to send that message, it's so hard for young women. I mean, these are famous, they've got money young women. It was so tough for them to even admit they had been abused. And then to have, you know, hey, suck it up. Other people have been abused. No big deal. That's a horrible message. No, I don't subscribe to that at all.
Yeah, and that's the thing that, it was the thing that bothered me about the Sha'Carri Richardson thing. They said, well, she smoked some weed, you know, to cope with the fact that, I don't know, her mother died, and she was told by a reporter. And a lot of times, you know, people cope with things, and the fact that I'm often astounded by that fact that in our community, I had one of our talk show hosts who hosts the show on mental health and wellness and, you know, physical and mental well-being. And, you know, I think that the mental health thing in our community, and I think it might be, and would you say, Melissa, is it kind of a byproduct of we have overcome a lot of adversity and we've never really taken into account, you know, the mental health costs of that. And I've often wondered, you know, the fact that, yes, we've had to overcome racism and a whole lot of other things that, you know, that are out there, you know, and I wonder how much of that has basically, I wonder how much of that, you know, plays a factor in our attitudes towards mental health.
Well, not just athletes, but with black women, you have intersectionality where they're not even just facing racism, they're also facing sexism, and from all sides. I mean, the whole strong black woman thing that you hear, it's like, okay, they say that like it's a compliment, but it also means black women aren't allowed to be vulnerable. The white woman can have her freak out, and nobody has a problem with that. She can just totally lose it, and that's okay. But, oh, you're a strong black woman. It's like, well, maybe we want to be vulnerable, too, because we're the victims of crime more than anybody. Black women are raped at a higher rate, beaten at a higher rate. So we're dealing with everything. And when people ask, you know, talk to me about sports and intersectionality, I said, let's put it this way. We've had massive performance-enhancing drug scandals. You got Barry Bonds, you got Clemens, you got Lance Armstrong, all of these people who have cheated. Only one athlete has gone to jail for a steroid or performance-enhancing related crime, and that was Marion Jones, a black woman. We're just penalized. It's ridiculous. So when you're dealing with sexism and racism, it's hard enough for sisters out there. Not saying they have it harder than brothers. I'm just saying they face both, you know, and they're getting it from both sides. You're getting it from the larger community saying you don't measure up to white women. Then you're getting from inside your community where you're being dogged, beaten, you know, talked about, you know, using words. You and I have talked about this, like diminishing women to next to nothing, using this harsh language. So you got somebody out there like Simone or Naomi Osaka, you know, they're out there trying to do their thing, and they don't get the benefit of the doubt. Roger Federer he's turning 40 in August. He pulled out of the French Open, treated it like a tune-up tournament, because I might get hurt. Oh, great, Roger. They were so supportive. People didn't attack him. Only Patrick McEnroe attacked Federer as, hey, somebody else could have had that money. You just pulling out of the tournament. But Simone, who's done all of this stuff, and she says this all of a sudden, you know, she's a quitter. You're getting the MAGA people, and I expect that from the Trump crowd because beating up on black women is part of their shtick now. You know, whether it's Meghan Markle, Naomi Osaka, that's just kind of what they do now. Let's trash a successful black woman. So it's like you expect that from them. But to hear black people, we don't all have to think the same. You can have an opinion on stuff, but talk about her sport. But to deny her the right to make choices for her own health, it's just not healthy for us as a community. Because other people hear that. They hear that. And they feel like somehow sexual abuse is something you just hey, it's just, you know, they were sexually abused like that's a walk in the park.
Wow.
And
I gotta go.
he's not
I gotta. Yeah, sorry. Let me try to interrupt. I gotta hold that thought though. But I gotta go to break. You're listening to 96.1 FM, 900 AM WURD. The Chris Murray Report will be right back.
Enterprise Exterminators, located at 4943 Wayne Avenue, has been in business since 1976 and can eliminate whatever pest problems you have. Enterprise specializes in bed bugs, lanternflies, and termites. Call for your free termite inspection today. Do-it-yourself kits are available. Enterprise Exterminators, servicing Philadelphia, Delaware, and New Jersey. Call now, 215-849-7070. Ask us about the WURD and senior discounts.
Word Radio Digital Tip of the Month with Stephanie Humphrey. Brought to you by Comcast.
Using food or grocery delivery services like DoorDash, Grubhub, or Instacart proved to be a valuable lifeline for some during the pandemic. And even as the country opens up, food delivery is still very popular and shows no sign of slowing down. Here are some tips to make sure your next food or grocery delivery goes smoothly. Typically, the best time of the day to order groceries is first thing in the morning, but on most apps, you can schedule your delivery in advance, so take advantage of that feature to help avoid long wait times. Make sure you leave clear delivery instructions for your driver. Provide cross streets, landmarks, or a description of your home if necessary. And leave detailed instructions for your grocery shopper by specifying preferences in the comments in the app. If you're concerned about security within the app, use Apple Pay or PayPal as your payment method instead of storing your credit card information. And of course, make sure you tip your shopper or driver for their hard work. Stay tuned to WURD for more tips and stay connected with us at wordradio.com.
Want the latest in Word swag? Check out the shop tab on wordradio.com. Hoodies, tees, and more in a variety of colors. The shop tab on wordradio.com. Show the world that you're all about black. Talk media. You're listening to Word Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD. Independent black media.
Okay, we're back with Melissa Lawrence Corbett. The author of Serena Williams Tennis Champion, Cultural Heroine, and Sports Legend. I think I got that mixed up, but still, from that standpoint, though, you were talking about, and I because we were coming up on break, you were talking about somehow, there's that double standard that black women face when it comes down to, it's like black women always have to be this kind of, they have to take everything. And I get the feeling that, a lot of times we don't, as men in our community, we oftentimes don't understand that burden that a lot of black women, and black men too, but a lot of black women have to face. We never, it's like black women's issues are always made secondary.
Well, some of that. I mean, I do think brothers, and having 5 biological brothers myself who are all wonderful men, good husbands, strong men, I do think brothers support us, but when they do, even their voices are drowned out by the noise. You know what I'm saying? So the narrative that gets out there in the media is that black women are undesirable, they're animals. I mean, they even call Michelle Obama like a monkey. She's a man, or you'll hear black men calling Serena Williams a man. That's the narrative that's out there, even though there are a lot of brothers who are supportive, but their voices aren't elevated. They minimize that. You don't hear about the brothers who are supporting sisters. You just hear the Jason Wicklocks, the brothers who attack the sisters, or they might even elevate a Stephen A. Smith if he's attacking a sister. So, and they, like I said, it's a narrative. And black women have had that drilled in their heads so much that they start to believe it. Because I know you've been in sports, the whole debate, black athletes always go for the white women. I'm like, that's not true. They were like, yes, they do. And I said, no, black men are like most men who they usually date people within their proximity. I said it's prevalent in the NFL because a lot of the top football programs are in these podunk towns where there aren't many black women at those colleges. And these brothers go to these schools and meet these white women who wouldn't have given them the time of day if they weren't on the football team, let's be honest, Tuscaloosa, Alabama, Norman, Oklahoma, them white women wouldn't have been talking to them brothers. But the brothers are young men, and they think, oh, she loves me, she out there. If you look at the NBA, most of your NBA stars, black and even some white, are not married to white women. Because they only on that campus 1 year, if that. Basketball is more of an urban sport, so they're in the city. They're meeting women. It's an international sport. You look at the NBA wives, they have more of an international flavor to them, but not many more white, or even somebody like Dirk Nowitzki with a black wife. Steve Nash was once married to a black woman. So I'm saying, but they push that narrative out there to attack black women. If you look at the census data, the one group of people who date outside of their race than anybody, and it ain't even close, are Asian women, and they never take the heat for that. Most Asian women are not married to Asian men. You can look at the census data. It ain't even close. But they don't use that to say Asian men are no good. They don't use that to put down the Asian man. But they try to make it only, I think it's 17% of black men, marry. Most black men marry black women. But I'm saying they weaponize that to diminish black women. And the black women hear it all the time, and they start believing it. And I'm like, that's not true. I say guys meet women at work, at school, and when you in Podunk, Alabama, it's mostly white women at that school.
I've been to Podunk, Michigan. I was in East Lansing, so I know what you're talking about. I know exactly what you're talking about.
East Lansing got a little bit more black women than most of them schools. I mean, Norman, Oklahoma, you know, think about Clemson and all these places where they at. And I just wish more black mothers would stop sending their sons to these schools where the towns are racist and the culture's racist. I'm like, you don't have to send your son. He's going to be a star. He don't have to go to Alabama. If more would do that, then they would be exposed to some educated sisters, because there's so few sisters. If you were a really educated sister, maybe you don't want to go to University of Georgia. You might want to go to Howard. So that's the thing, is that that's what they're meeting. So that's an NFL phenomenon. It's not, all professional black athletes ain't rushing to marry white women. In football, you have to be on that campus at least 3 years. You become a man while you're there, and some of them think, I want to marry somebody before I get famous and the hoochies come after me, when they'd be better off waiting and meeting some people once you get out of that little town. Even somebody as corny as RG3, he married that young white woman because she was probably the baddest thing in Waco.
Okay. Yeah,
he got out of
Waco.
He got another white woman, but he was like, I'm going to get me a better grade of white woman. There's something better than Waco.
Wow. Well, I got to kind of change gears with that. There's a movie about Richard Williams, and while we got about a few minutes left, I wanted to talk about that with Richard Williams and, the fact that he has a movie. And because you wrote the book on Serena Williams, I have to ask you, the question, what has Richard Williams meant to Serena Williams and Venus, and I've not seen what this movie, how Will Smith is going to portray Mr. Williams, but what has he meant to those girls in their development?
Well, I mean, there's him, the father, and there's him, the coach. And even though they cross, those two things overlap, people act like he was just some crazy father promoting his girls. But he actually put together, and it's in my book, a 78-page business plan before they were born. So to someone to put a plan in place, execute that plan, and then to have other fathers, Naomi Osaka's father, Coco Gauff's father, be able to follow that plan, that shows you how he's a success. Like McDonald's, you don't roll up to a McDonald's in Michigan and then one in Alabama and say, who's cooking the fries? Because they've just streamlined that to the point where their fries taste the same everywhere. So he created a plan that can be duplicated. That's when you know you've been successful, and it has been duplicated. Right now, Naomi Osaka is third in active players for Grand Slams, only behind Venus and Serena. So think about it. His plan, then someone who took his plan and duplicated it with another girl. And now Coco, she's the youngest person in the top 100. Another black man took that same Richard plan, and he's duplicated it. So I don't think people give him enough credit for coming up with a business plan that has been proven that it worked with his daughters, and even more proof that other black men have taken that plan and duplicated the success.
Wow.
And
Well, we are at the end. So, like I said, and by the way, let me get your book right this time. Serena Williams, tennis champion, sports legend, and cultural heroine. And this is a book by Melissa Lawrence Corbett. So I suggest that before you see that movie, read her book. Read her book.
Yeah, a lot of that. I saw the trailer. A lot of that, including pictures, that's in my book.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, so we definitely got to check it out. Melissa, as always, man, like I say again, I like that. I'm going to get you on here more often because I like you and Shalise Manson Young. I like the fact, and I hope that our business will one day will include voices like yourselves, because we need to hear that, sports talk radio has to change, and hopefully we're right here doing that. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening in to us today. I want to thank all my guests, Melissa Lawrence Corbett, Shalise Manson Young, Jack McCaffrey, and of course my world champion producer, Jordan Booth. Jordan, thank you so much as always, man. We'll see you next week.
I know why.